Deputy Murphy, you've indicated.
First of all, I'm probably, well, I know I'm only one of a handful of people in this room who actually got to vote in this in 1983, and I voted not to actually put it in the Constitution because it's not the place to legislate. And that's what you're doing. You're legislating in the Constitution if you include something in the Constitution. So that has coloured my opinion in relation to what particular view I have taken. I too, in the same vein as it must be the time, it must be the heat. Deputy O'Sullivan, I too tabled a motion for a straightforward repeal, and I think that is the way we should proceed. We were told by our legal advisor that there's no such thing as legal certainty, and I think we all accept that. But the more legal certainty there is, the less flexibility there is. And we have been really cursed by the fact that there has been no legal flexibility by virtue of the fact that we've tied ourselves into an article in the Constitution that requires change, even for the most extreme situations. So essentially that eliminates for me a number of the options that are put in front of us, like based on legislation entrenched in the Constitution. There's nothing else that we have entrenched in the Constitution. That would be a new departure, and it would be the wrong way to go, in my opinion. Repeal based on legislation that's published in tandem. My concern about that, and I accept some of the points that are made, my concern about that is if that is essentially overly restrictive, then the courts may interpret it in an overly restrictive way. And I have no problem specifying in that I believe that this is an issue in relation to, that should be embedded in healthcare. And no problem specifying when we come to the last phase of this particular process, where we actually deal with the individual items that should go into, or we might recommend that go into legislation. Item 5 is in relation to broad grounds, which I think pretty much does exactly the same thing. It takes away flexibility. Item 6, or option 6, where there would be exclusive powers given to the Oireachtas, which is what the Citizens' Assembly recommended. Given previous referenda, the one, for example, on giving more powers to the committees, I think that the way you would change the balance between the courts and the Oireachtas, I don't think is something that necessarily is favoured by citizens. I think they like to have that balance, and I don't think that is a good way to go. So I'm very firmly of the opinion that it is, repeal or not repeal is the option that should be put to the citizens, and that comes to who do you trust? I mean, we're asking the citizens to make this decision. I'm certainly willing to trust women. I'm certainly willing to trust doctors, and I'm certainly willing to accept a decision that the citizens will make. But I think we have to be very clear and coherent with the question that we put. And I think that the most straightforward question is the one that is the one I think is largely expected. It's open to people to vote yes or no to that. So they were the reasons I came to the conclusions that I did in relation to what the options were or would be. And I've got to say, just to finish off, we did decide on a modular approach in July. Some of us did expect that there would be decisions after each module. I'm perfectly willing to accept the honestly held position by many of the people here that they want more time, and for that reason I certainly won't be pressing my particular proposal until people feel comfortable with us discussing that, and if that takes another few weeks, so what? But I do think that there are people in this room that don't want this want to retain Article 43.3 in the Constitution, and I believe that they are frustrating the process, and I think that that should be called out. It's not about being in here and being disingenuous. It's fundamentally about not wanting a repeal or not wanting a discussion about repeal. It's about retaining. So let's just say what it is. And just finally, we've heard some discussions about human rights. Well, I think health is a human right, and I think women have a right to have their human rights respected in the context of health, and it's part of the reason why I've taken the position that I have on this. Thank you.